Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Blair Nightingale here with Market Monday. We do this every Monday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You guys know I am on the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m., 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do this every week. We are going to have a special episode tonight. Specifically, I think there are some things that we need to look at today, and today is the right time to do it. We had a wild day in the market, so we are going to take a look at that, and we are going to continue our series with interviews that we're doing with different folks around Tradeway to help you understand the journey of trading. We will pick that up next week. If you've been following us, you know that that's one of the things we do on here. We were with Ben Mitchell last week. Tonight, a different story. Specifically, I'm seeing all kinds of stuff out there. Benjamin, I see you there. By the way, if you are on tonight and you would like to drop a comment in the comment box, please do so. I invite you. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to ask, go ahead, throw it in there, because I would like to engage with you. As I say all the time, I'd rather not just talk at a camera. I certainly know how to do that, and I will do that. But I'd like to hear from you too. If you just want to let me know you're on the broadcast, where you're from, go ahead, drop that in there. If you'd like to ask anything, say anything, disagree with anything along the way, I certainly invite that as well. So, man, I got to tell you guys, we're going to do a bunch today. I want to show you some stuff. We're going to look at the market. I don't know if you guys saw the market today, if you've been paying attention. Well, we tanked. We tanked pretty hard today. In the grand scheme, especially as a trader, I've seen, obviously, even just earlier this year, we saw the market tank a lot. So when the market drops like this, the questions are, well, what do I do? What do I need to know? What's going to happen from here? And that's what I want to look at tonight. I want to tell you what happened. What do you need to know? What do I think is going to happen from here? That said, I also, Vicky, I see you there. Mary Jo, I see you there. Benjamin, Joshua, nice to have you on here. I see some things in the news, guys. I gotta say, there's a couple of things that we ought to know. We ought to know about the news. We ought to know about the media. We ought to know about what is driving some of the craziness that we live in right now. And the people around the office at Tradeway, listen, they know, and some of the students, they know, like, there's just some really important pieces here that I think everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to hear. I think it's objective information. I think it's an important perspective, and I think it is directly tied to some of the craziness that we're seeing in the stock market, some things I definitely want to talk about. So we're going to look specifically at the stock market, but we're also going to look at some of the financial news really quick, because I think you're going to find this very interesting. And then I want to give you some thoughts on where are we going from here. This isn't my summation of 2020, but really I do want to say a few things about where are we going from here. Okay. So first thing I want to do today, in fact, let me show you this first. I'm gonna start the screen share, and then I'm going to shut it off. But I want you to see this first, folks. So for those of you who've been joining us week after week, we've looked at this many times. You guys can go back and look at any previous episode, previous broadcast that we've done on here. If you say, well, I've never even looked at a stock chart before, well, this is it right here. It charts the price, okay, of the stock market. Now, if we don't know what this is, we're just sort of at the mercy of whatever news organization we're paying attention to. And I'm going to pull this up again. And they're going to tell us it went up or it went down. And we're sort of like, well, if it went up, I guess it's good. If it went down, that's bad. Well, what are we doing here today? We've kind of been going sideways. Now, I've been telling students at Tradeway. So I said, what's one thing you need to know? This is one of the things that I think you need to know. we are coming into an election around Tradeway when it comes to short-term trading and long-term investments, okay? We treat an election like this, a federal election, like an earnings report, which means we're not in any open positions when the election happens, as the results are coming in. Now, let me qualify. Long-term investing positions is different, but we are prepared. We are paying attention, and we are expecting and preparing for volatility, okay? Because that, without saying anything about predictions, results, favorites, poll numbers, whatever, you got to expect that there is going to be volatility. Now we're going to come back and look at, well, Blair, what do you expect to happen in that volatility? Well, I'm going to talk about what I think, and it'll be what I think, all right? I don't have a crystal ball, but as traders, we work with the information we have, and we learn how to interpret that in a way that prepares us for what we don't know. So it's not really about knowing the future. It's about knowing how to prepare for what you don't know. And that's what I want to talk about. But you see here, we dropped. We were down 100 points. Guys, a normal day, granted, normal in 2020 is definitely changing. 30, 40 points in a day is a pretty healthy day, moving up or moving down, right? That's a big day up. That's a big day down. 100 points we were at, okay? Now I want to show you something here. Let's just head on over here. CNBC, not the only outlet for market news, but it's one of the biggest ones. We're going to look at this more in a sec. Stock market turbulence could last until election. I'm going to come back to that because I just want to shake my head. I got to say, most of what's on this page, now I'm not saying this is only me at Tradeway. Most of what's on this page I've been saying for 2 weeks. And they want to sell it to us as though it's some sort of revelatory information. And I feel like they're just patting us on the head and treating us like children. I'm just going to be really honest today. That's what I feel like sometimes when I read the news right now. They just sort of expect us to be ignorant and just accept whatever's in the headline. And some of these headlines are the most obvious things. And I'm supposed to believe that the market dropped 100 points today based on some of the things they're telling me. One of those things being record all-time high coronavirus cases, okay? That suddenly, out of nowhere, Friday, not such a big deal. Friday, we were up. We closed outside of that line I have. You see that? We made a high. We came down. We made a lower high. See, this high was lower. Ooh, looks like that's weakness. That's a tip for somebody out there today. Technically speaking, what did we do? We went to that price. We came down. We came up. We made a lower high. We could not get back to where we were. What does that show? Weakness. We came down. We did it again, except this time even lower. But we did close outside of that line. We were actually up. And then boom, we've crashed 100 points down. And you know what they were saying last week? They were saying this right here, stimulus deal. We got hope for a stimulus deal. Ooh, we lost hope for the stimulus deal. Oh, we got hope for the stimulus deal. Ah, we lost hope for the stimulus deal. And I told our people time and time again, I'll be shocked if they get anything done before the election. This is noise. This is just noise. So here's my point today, guys. Here's one of the things I want to say. Let me go back here. I'm going to stop the screen share. Ivan says, came over from Facebook. Audio was spotty. So if anybody out there is having any issues with the Facebook audio, you can always jump on over and see us on the YouTube as well. So jump on over there. So here's what I want to say. The news, I think we've all been in a conversation all year, if not longer, how crazy the news can be. But I'm telling you, this financial news The fear-driven madness that is even increasing as we get closer to the election. And I suspect and expect they will only increase from here. That anything can just pop out of nowhere, and we should be terrified. We should be afraid. Now, let me say this, because I want to talk about the emotional and I want to talk about the logical. There's a logical reason why the stock market could react to the news that we saw today and go down the way that it did, right? I actually, it's not just a matter of I believe that. There's a reason. There's a reason. If the numbers are high and we start to shut down again en masse, we start to shut down and roll back, what's going to happen? That's going to mean the economy contracts even more. It's going to contract even more. If that happens, we have less expectation of growth. With less expectation of growth, we see the stock market fall. See the stock market fall. So there is a logical reason there, okay? But I want to hit the other side of this, because I tell you what, I wouldn't even read the news if it wasn't for literally what I do as a trader. I would not even read the news, and I'm at the point where even the logical nature of looking at data to see what are they saying about the stock market, even that is just getting overwhelmingly biased. It's getting out of control. The fear mongering that I see. Now, I want to show you something. Some of you are going to check out on me on this one. That's okay. I'm not going to give you my opinion in the next 2-3 minutes. I'm not going to give you my opinion. We're going to look at some data, and I'm going to explain very carefully what I mean and why I'm showing you this. Let me share my screen again. I'm sorry. All right. Let's take a look at this for a second. Here's what the media never puts into perspective for us. Okay? This is the government website. Okay? This is the National Cancer Institute. This is a government website. In 2020, an estimated 606,520 people will die of cancer in the United States. Please hear me. In no way am I intending to be insensitive or detached or simply make a point at the expense of a family, of someone's life. This disease has touched my own family. Okay? Significant people in my own family are not there because of cancer. Now, that said, 606,520 this year estimated, they've been doing this a long time, will die in the United States. Where are we at now since March? Okay, since March, we're at 225,000. Now, is that a small number? No, that's not a small number. That's not a small number. That's 225,000 people. But do they post this every single day, over and over, time and time again? Are they reminding you over and over and over? This is in the news, guys. Be afraid. Be scared. Uh-oh. Oh, no. What's going to happen? Everybody should freak out. I heard a certain somebody the other night say, we're headed for a cold, long winter. Perhaps it was just a long winter. Winter is usually cold. That's my paraphrase. 225,000 on here. 606. Neither are good. You could even say neither are acceptable at all. But the fact that one is treated so exponentially different than the other in the way it is put in front of us every single day. Let's look at this. 339 in a day. How many people? Let's just follow the same track here. 1660 each day. Wait a second. Let's just double check that. 339 in a day, 1660. Not even comparable, but treated completely different. And the reaction on some level is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know this is so heavily politicized. I'm simply looking at numbers. And I obviously do. Many of you out there know this, as we all do. We have a political perspective. And I would be willing to wager that your political perspective and my political perspective are not quite as simple as two titles that we tend to give to people who have a political perspective, or maybe even, dare I say, two representatives of those perspectives. Now, I do have a person that I would vote for over somebody else. I'm sure you do too. But that doesn't mean that I as a person or you as a person are completely 100% encapsulated in everything a specific person in government does or says. It's never that simple. It's not that simple. But I am saying, look at the numbers, look at the media, look at the madness. Okay? It is literally a completely unbalanced response, and it becomes, on some level, I appreciate how challenging deciding what is best on some level can be. If you've ever been in leadership, you can understand that at times it's not so easy. You make somebody happy, you make somebody else unhappy. I've been in that position. Okay? But this response from the media, listen, I was getting on here tonight and I thought, you know what? I don't say a lot. I don't post a lot, but it's driving me bananas. And that's putting it really safe. It's driving me insane looking at these numbers, looking at what is happening. The fear mongering is absolutely out of control. It's absolutely out of control. And when I think about an expectation for the future, then I think, what do I want to protect here? A confidence in God, a sense of hope, a collective unity that says, you know what, we can make it. I listened to two people the other night. One of them said, we're in for a long winter. The other one said, we're going to make it because we can be successful. We can make it because we're going to be successful. I'm going to talk about that more in a second, but let's go back and let's look at the market. This isn't, I'm going to say this again too. You may not agree with me, and there's a good chance that some of you, maybe many of you, you don't. But here's what I'd hope we can agree on. More fear is not an answer here. It's not a response. You may disagree. You may say passivity is not the right way. I'm not suggesting passivity. I'm not suggesting that there's nothing happening. I'm saying when we look at the media, when we look at what's going on, and I'm going to be specific here, even in the stock market, and I tell people all the time, listen, we don't trade on news. Now, the market is very, what we call newsy right now. It's very susceptible to news. We can trade technically on the chart that you're looking at right now, or we can trade more on the news. One of them will tend to affect it more. We like to use the news a lot less. News is extremely unpredictable, very emotional, and it's open to a lot of personal interpretation. It's also driven by major factors in our culture outside of our control. Example, major news organizations that are owned, in some cases, by billionaire Wall Street investors. So what am I saying? I'm saying even this is stoking the flame of a disproportionate anxiety and fear. And I believe that some of it is 100% a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And let us not feel that we need to feed the flame of fear because we feel that perhaps some others are taking it too lightly. And perhaps there's room for us to say, you know what? I can love my neighbor better than I have, even though I'm not going to get under that fear. I want to honor and respect and love them. For me, as a Christian, that has been the balancing act of living out 2020. On this chart, we had a massive drop today based on that. Well, you know what I thought, you guys? When I was literally watching the market today, right at this low, right down here, see this what we call a wick right here. It hit the bottom today, but it didn't close the day there. Buyers came in and actually lifted the stock, in this case, the market, up to this level, okay? It lifted it up to this level. I said, what changed? If we're selling off stocks based on coronavirus numbers, they didn't get any better at that level. There's no news item that I can find out there that says, well, there's a reason for us to have a little more hope. Now, I would say there is some reasons, but I didn't see that out there, and yet the buyers stepped in. So we have to be very careful when it comes to financial news because they put them out there, they put articles out there, they put headlines out there, they say what they say, but Wall Street will turn around and do what they do. Apart from those, if you and I are trading based on that, we can really get into trouble. Now, I said some of the things that I want you to know, what you need to know. Well, here's what I think you need to know on this chart. I said the first one already. Anytime you are looking at trading, which is primarily what we do at Tradeway, but you're also, again, some of us long-term investors, you're looking at a chart like this. I said it, you're making higher lows. Excuse me, you're making lower highs. You're making lower highs. So this drop, it was bigger than I expected. Yes. Was the weakness for me unexpected? No. And I've been posting about that to our Tradeway students for a week. We have programs in Tradeway that once you enroll in them as a student, you get access to myself, the other coaches. It's an online system. If you think about it, sort of like Facebook for traders, right? It's not actually Facebook. It's our own platform, but you get access to that, and you have access to us as coaches, strategy-specific information. We're looking at real-time stocks. We're going online, similar to what we're doing right now, but we're doing it in real time when the markets are open and we're looking at stocks. It's in that area, that membership area I'm talking about, that I've been posting now for some time about a lot of these things. Our students already knew we're looking at significant weakness. Yes, it held here at what we call the 20-day moving average, which these lines, good old red, white, and blue, we've got some others in there. Those are very significant. Look at this right here. Our students knew. They didn't have to guess. It wasn't a crystal ball. It wasn't prediction. They knew this line down here is a 100-day moving average. That's going to be significant. It stopped right at that line. It closed above it, and then boom, blast off. This wasn't invisible because we knew to look for it. So it's not about knowing what's going to happen. It's about knowing what to look for when you're in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen. We're in that situation right now. And again, with the election coming up, it's even more so than it ever normally is. We don't exactly know. And I would say if you know to look for those lower highs, then even if you were in some sort of stock or position at this point, you could learn some of the skills that we talk about to limit the risk. Hey, I still want to do something with a company I really like, with a stock I really like, but I'm going to do it in a way that expects that this kind of a thing could happen soon. Why? Because I know I was getting weaker. It was getting weaker. Listen, that's good knowledge. What I just told you, that is good knowledge. Most people don't know to look for that, right? Not to their fault. They just don't know. They just don't know to look for something like that. I mentioned the second thing already. We've got these major moving averages. This is the second thing I'm going to show you guys. This is the market, right? This is the stock market. When you talk about it going up, going down, crashing, whatever, we've got these major moving averages. They're plotted over time, okay? So simply put, you've got a 100-day, a 50-day, a 20-day, a 10-day, and so on. Each one of them is not subjective, drawn by you and me at home. It's a mathematical line that the software itself charts that every other trader can see as well. And when every other trader uses those same moving averages as what we call support and resistance, again, go back further in the series, we talk about this stuff, you can use them to your advantage. Now, we teach you in our program specifically how to do that beyond the scope of what we have time for today, but they are important. And I will be watching those. One of the key things, I'm going to tell you guys this today. One of the key things I told my students to watch for this morning, remember I told you I was watching it. Somebody on here is probably in one of my programs. In fact, I saw some names already. I know you were. So you can go ahead and pop in the comments if you'd like, if you saw my article this morning. But I put it in when we were down, down, down. Well, what did we do? I said, let's watch for a what? Close above the 50. Close above the 50, which at that point we had just barely broken over it. So we were looking to see, can we close above this line? And we did. What does that mean for us? That means in times of volatility, I can learn to read the chart and pull out objective pieces of information that help me say, this looks stronger, this looks weaker. Not based on my guess of what's going to happen. That's an emotional bias that comes out based on our interpretation of the information. And as long as we retain the reality that it's a bias, not a guarantee, it doesn't become too dangerous. But the problem is that a lot of times bias in the market translates over to not I think this is going to happen, but this is going to happen. Not this could happen or should happen, but it would or it will. That's totally different. So we teach our people to keep those separate. And the way that we do that is showing you what are some anchors that are on this screen right here I can look at. And once I learn to recognize them quickly, I go, this is a bullish chart. This is a bearish chart. Ooh, I'm not really sure which one this is right now. That means I'm going to respond effectively to it. So some of you out there right now, you're saying, I want to become a trader. Some of you are traders. Some of you say, I know just enough to be dangerous right now. Some of you have long-term investments. You may be in your mid-50s. You may be in your later 50s. You may already be retired. And you're saying, we're right on the doorstep here. My financial advisor, let me zoom this out here. My financial advisor didn't call me in here. And I was pretty nervous with what happened in there. But you know what, Blair? I'm sure glad this happened. By the way, we've never had that happen before. We had the best economy we've ever had before this happened. We dropped the fastest drop we've ever had, right there. And then the fastest recovery we've ever had. There's argument, is it a V-shaped recovery? Is it a K-shaped recovery? Sounds a little ridiculous to me. It's the fastest one we've ever had. And if you were in the market hurting from this, you were pretty glad to see that. Now, with volatility, you might be thinking, well, geez, I sure don't want to go for that ride again. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not predicting that that's going to happen. But I am saying no matter what's going to happen, you and I don't know. So we need to be ready. We need to be prepared to do two things. And I've talked about this in previous sessions as well. We need to be prepared to, one, protect what we have. How do I know how to do okay, be okay with what I already have, what I've made, what I've invested, whatever the case might be, right? You have various types of investments in the market, retirement accounts, etc., trading accounts. And then number two, how do I know how to take advantage of the growth? Listen, simply put, and we did look at this again in an earlier broadcast, how could this have actually been beneficial to me? And how could I have managed this so that this movement wasn't just trying to get back to where I was, but I actually didn't take so much of a loss here. And I was able to use the capital that I did not lose here and actually invest it here, right? And we talked about that in a reasonable fashion, right? Not some 20 or hindsight is 2020. Well, you could have just done this, this, and this, and gee, that would have made you $1 million. No. That's not what we said. That's not what we mean. But it was reasonable. I could have done better here so that I could do even better here. What am I saying? The second major thing we got to know right now is when there's major volatility like this year has been insane. I think we could all agree, right? On many levels. But the market has actually been extraordinary for trading. It's actually been amazing for trading. So I want to not only know how to protect what I have, but I want to know how can I take advantage of this volatility, but not get crushed by it, not be ignorant of what it is or how to manage risk in the middle of it. And I've told you 3 things now already. Let me recap them for you. Number 1, see those highs are getting lower. Okay. Now that's number 1. Number 2, these moving averages, watching for lines in the sand. Okay. I want to know, where are we getting further down? Are we just breaking these levels? The further and further we get, the weaker this thing is. I want to see those things behave the way that they're supposed to behave. And then third, I just want to know overall, if the volatility continues, do I understand how to, again, protect what I have? Number 2, take advantage of that volatility. Take advantage of that volatility in a healthy way, which is what? In trading, controlling the risk, which starts with understanding the risk, okay? Understanding the risk to take advantage. Even this guy right here, look at that movement. That was an extremely explosive movement. We started, let's just even go from this point here, 32.32 up to 35.50 in about 3.5 weeks. Not even a month. So a massive movement just by knowing this one thing here, just by knowing that one thing right there. So as we're looking at the stock market, I want you to remember a couple of things. Number 1, this chart can help you with the emotions. I expect more volatility. I expect more volatility in the market. I expect more volatility as we get closer to the election. That could be up one day, down the next. I'm not saying it's necessarily sustained movement in one direction or the other. In fact, that's the hardest time to trade, is when it's not sustained one way or the other. And I start to recognize conditions that tell me, this is not going to be good for me to be holding positions overnight right now, because it's going to change directions every single day. Or certainly the risk of that happening is higher and higher. We want to teach you how to recognize those conditions so that you're not caught in that, what we call the whipsaw, back and forth, like so many people get caught in. Okay. So I expect that to continue. I also want you to keep in mind the news. And again, financial news. Let's just pick on them for a minute, right? Financial news, like even that, it's not like it's all data driven. There are headlines. And the headlines push a certain emotion, feeling. You could even maybe say agenda, but whatever the case is, I feel like it's feeding this fire that we don't need any help with. And it's gotten so out of hand that it's feeding a perspective that's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion. And it is just my opinion, but it is my opinion nonetheless. Because again, I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to say it, 2 perspectives for me when it comes to leadership. In the market, the last time we had an election, there was definitely much more open news, if you will. It was more clear. Okay, this is who Wall Street is favoring pre-election, right? This is who they're favoring. I'm seeing it more and more. There's always voices on both sides, but by and large, I was seeing one voice favored versus the other. If this person wins, then we would like that more. This time around, I'm kind of seeing that it's more passive aggressive, it feels like. I'm not necessarily seeing the declarations of, Wall Street as an entity, what they want more. And I know some people have that question, what's going to happen if Trump wins? What's going to happen if Biden wins? And I think it's important, I'm going to say, who would you rather have leading the country? Now, there are complex issues here, but by and large, I watched this the other night and I saw somebody say, we're in for doom and gloom. And the other person said, we're going to be okay because we're going to be successful. And this market is riding, by and large, on the back of that successful change we saw over the last 4 years. Economically speaking, we've never had it better than that. And Wall Street enjoyed that. Wall Street enjoyed that very much. So I think I go, which one sounds like a leader to me? And where do I want to see that go from here? And when I think about the trickle-down effect, what's amazing to me, I learned just recently, I live in the state of California. And I live here because I choose to live here. I live here because I want to live here. So I honor the state of California in that sense, in terms of it's a beautiful state full of beautiful people. You know what I didn't realize, though? We have some of the highest taxes in the nation. And most of where we get the most of our money, hear all this tough talk on Wall Street, like they're going to hammer Wall Street. Most of the money that comes in, I've just looked at this on a government website. Most of the money that comes into the state, you know where it comes from? High earners, and most of their money comes from Wall Street. When Wall Street tumbles, money in this state tumbles. Their income tumbles. They have to take cuts because they're not bringing in the same amount of money, which I thought was a little bit strange to think how the rhetoric in the commentary, the news, those bad rich people, bad money, bad. And really, at the end of the day, a lot of the coffers here are filled by high earners who are getting the money from Wall Street. I'm also seeing a lot of donations coming into a certain presidential candidate. It's coming from Wall Street. So when I look at this, you guys know, most of you who've been on here before, I live in Texas, I've lived in California. Interesting to me, and I'm talking about where are we going from here? And I just want to say, an unhinged, ever-expanding socialist government is a dangerous idea. And I'm going to tell you from my own experience, some of you out there are going to say, Blair, I lived longer than you have. Well, that's true. For many of us, for many of you, that is true. But let me just say this. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in California. I don't pay even a fraction of the taxes in Texas that I have to pay here. And the difference in infrastructure from one to the other is night and day. Texas has no state tax. Nobody has been able to explain that to me. We are looking down the barrel of expanding social programs dramatically. And if that expansion could solve all the problems around us like we're promised they're going to solve, then I wonder why I look around the city I live in LA County, and I see all or more of those problems here in LA County than I saw when I lived in Dallas. And I'm not making it LA versus Dallas. I live here because I love to live here. In fact, I tell people that this is the city I love to live in. That doesn't mean I like everything about what's going on. And I just want to plant that seed tonight because, listen, I'm seeing, and you guys see it too, you see the effects. And this message, this rhetoric, it's the same thing. I see it on all the news stations. It's the same thing. And I'm wondering, who's talking about this? It's working. I feel like socialism is putting your bills on a credit card. It's a promise. It takes care of something in the short term. Maybe it starts to feel good, but guess what? It's not actually paid for. They're still going to send you a bill. They're going to send you and me a bill, and it's going to be a bigger bill than we thought it was going to be. And then what happens? It means they expand. When they expand, they get bigger. We got to pay more. We pay more. They expand more. They expand more. We're more dependent. We're more dependent. And then what? We got to charge it again. We come into a problem. We didn't solve the problem from last time, and we got to charge it again. This is not expansion. This is not good for stocks. This is not good for us. This is not good for your neighbors. This is not good for businesses. This is not good for families. If I've learned one thing, and I told his daughter this about 2 weeks ago, if I've learned one thing from the CEO and founder of our company, David Mitchell, it's that, you know what? It's good to be resourceful in your life, to build in the land of opportunity, this country, the greatest country on the planet Earth, the opportunity we have, so that you can prosper and take care of your family. And then in the overflow of your life, you can take care of those around you. I'm not David Mitchell's son. I'm not in his family. I can tell you they're extremely generous. And this is about David. This is about, I believe in helping your neighbor. I believe in helping fellow Americans. I believe in things that help give everybody a fair shake. But I also believe that the government doesn't have to be the one to do it for me. And I don't want them to do it for me, because guess what? We've been talking about fiscal policy this whole time. Eventually, it's all tied together. If they own me on fiscal policy, guess what? They get to do whatever they want, social policy too. And we're seeing that. And again, places I've lived in this country, I'm seeing those very things play out. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not good for us. And for some of us, it may sound good, especially if we are compassionate. Wednesdays, I'm on here, same time, same channel. I talk about how I've done world missions. And I'm not looking for a pat on the back or a trophy. I'm saying I've lived among some of the most poor people on the planet. That matters to me. My last week's session, I talked about how I go down to my studio. There's a camp of homeless people right outside the gate. And I think of Lazarus and the rich man, where Lazarus sat outside of his gate. And Jesus said, there's a rich man. He didn't once do anything for Lazarus. These are the issues I want to wrestle with in my life. But I don't need big government to do it for me. And I don't believe you do either. Of course, that's your decision. But this is the perspective that we have here. And I don't accept when the rhetoric and the headlines come out and they say something different or make you think, hearing one voice over and over and over, there's so much fear. It's so bad. It's a long, bleak winter. We're going down the tubes. And then the president stands up and says, we're going to be okay because we're going to be successful. Come on. Come on. Right? That's what we heard 100 times the other night. Come on. Well, I'm saying it now. There's something in that. There's some life in that. And historically, it's what's made us great. It's what's made us strong. And so tonight I want to say, keep your money safe in this election. Manage the risk, expect volatility. At Tradeway, we want to invite you to our program, Trader Pro. We go into everything I just talked about. You get access to all the coaches, all the coaching, live market training, and a ton more. This is the place to be. I believe this is the best company. And I have not said this all the time. I believe this is the best company, right? I'm saying this is something where I know we have reached a place where we just keep getting better and better. I've been so confident in Tradeway, but we just get better and better. And now I've just been boldly saying we are the best company on the planet teaching people how to trade stocks. I honestly do believe that. So if you're interested in that, we're going to drop the link in the comments. You will be able to join us there. That said, we have an election coming up. And this, maybe for some of you, was a different perspective. Maybe some of you just turned me off. So maybe some of you are encouraged by this, or it's clarifying. At any rate, this is the truth. This is the truth. So I would hope that you would love, honor, respect your neighbor, that you would love, honor, respect anyone, no matter what their political perspective is, and yet know that there are facts about what is going on right now. And the truth of the matter is where we're going from here can be done in strength, can be done in weakness. And of course, I believe that what I'm saying tonight is the path of strength. That said, everybody, that comes to the end somehow, some way. I always seem to end at 45 minutes. I don't know how I do it, but I do it. It's 45 minutes. So we're going to end it right there. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, you can go ahead, reach out to us at Tradeway. Pop it right there in the comment box. If you haven't yet, like the Facebook post or the page. And anytime we do a broadcast, you will be notified. You'll be able to join us there. On YouTube, you can simply ring the bell right there underneath the title, and you will be able to get notifications from that. Greg, I see your comment there. Jeffrey, Mario, everybody. He says, would agree, Tradeway is the best outfit to learn from. And it just keeps getting better, man. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. Trading is growing exponentially. Exponentially. Record numbers of people are coming into the stock market, opening up brokerage accounts. We want to help people not be in a spot where they know just enough to be dangerous, but they know what they are doing. We want to help you win. We want to help you move forward. Nancy, I see you there. Muriel, I see you there. I want everybody. Get emotional. I'm not just sort of spouting off because they give me time. I want the family to win. I want the family to win. And I would gather that no matter who you are today, no matter how you want to vote, you feel the same way. So I would say to you, hey, on that level, you and I, we're on the same page. The way forward is strength. It's strength. And I don't believe all the rhetoric. And I follow people from different communities. I have friends in different ethnic communities, economic communities in this country. And there's a way that we can all move forward together. And it's not releasing and giving up our control. And so for that reason, tonight was a bit passionate. Thank you guys for staying with me. I will see you next time. And it was